from what I understand, I had said, look, this may be happening as soon as UFC 322. That is not the case. What good are the rules if we don't implement them? It will not just be reaching the hand out. There will actually have to be a foul for it to be a point, which I love. All right, look, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the updates kind of on these rules. So the rules that, last week, I was talking about it last week. During the week, I said, hey, we can see changes to these eye poke rules as early as UFC 322. After talking with guys like Andy Foster and some of the conversation that I've had with him and a couple other refs, people that are in the know in terms of this, is that will not happen. They don't want to rush it. They want to make sure that they're not making hasty decisions and just, putting this thing too far, too fast, and, and having to pull it back. The other thing is they'll have to, they'll have to make sure that the UFC understands in the beginning of this, it may be difficult. You may lose main events, co-main events, in the middle of a fight. You may end up having a scorecard of, a fighter having 2 points taken away in one round. And essentially the fight's over unless he finishes the fight by knockout or submission. Those are valid points. So from what I understand, I had said, look, this may be happening as soon as UFC 322. That is not the case. They are hoping to have something kind of wrapped up and finished by probably sometime around February, March, probably more likely March, pushing maybe to April. And I brought this up as well. I said, hey, why don't we exhaust every other avenue that we can and put a little pressure on the UFC or the organizations, not just the UFC, but all organizations that use these gloves, and say, hey, why don't we just change the gloves? And it became like this. Well, if we change them here, do we make other promotions use the same gloves? We got to change them across the board so we avoid, once we know there's a problem with the glove and we acknowledge there's a problem with a glove, do we continue to let promotions use it knowing that someone could potentially get poked in the eye? And you don't really want to put the UFC in that position to do that. So what you want to do is you want to say, hey, okay, well, what can we do to make this easier for everyone across the board? In the beginning, it'll be tough. No doubt about it. But what they're going to do is they're going to make a rule change. You will get your warning. You will get your warning for your hands being open. And I had originally said that every time your hand was open and you reach it out, after you've gotten your warning, they were going to take a point. That is not correct from what I understand now. So it'll be as soon as you get your warning, you'll get one warning as soon as they see your hand open. And then once you do an eye poke after your warning, no matter what, it's a point. No matter what, it's a point. And if you get an eye poke again, it's another point. So the commission is very not hesitant. They understand that they're going to propose these rules, and the UFC, they would like to see something change, but they want to make sure that the UFC understands, in the beginning, before fighters get used to this, having to always keep their hands closed and the potential of, not parrying a punch, doing all these things, that will end up having an effect on these fights. But they're hoping that it's a short-term effect for the first, I don't know, however long. How long will they, how long will it take for the fighters to adjust? Because the one of the biggest things that he told me, this was the thing that he told me, was it was like 95 or 98% of all the eye pokes come from like 1 or 2% of the fighters. It's the same fighters. It's not like we have some epidemic of like people getting poked in the eye. It happens. We have open finger gloves. It happens. We know that. And because we know what happens, like the adjustment should just be simply put, as soon as the ref sees that your hands are open, they give you the hard warning. Hey, watch your hands. Once the hard warning is given, I don't understand why it's a hard warning. It is what it is. Once the hard warning is given, if you poke someone in the eye, it's a point. And you essentially take it out of the fighter's hands, or the ref's hands, and say, hey, no matter what, it's a point. As soon as you say no, as soon as you give them a hard warning of, hey, your hands are open, watch your hands. And after that, if the eye poke happens, it will be an automatic point. Because we've always wondered why have we not done that before? Why have we always been like, okay, look, it was an eye poke, but it wasn't intentional. And I'll have to agree, there's been some media that have talked about like, what's the difference between intentional and unintentional? There is no difference. A foul is a foul, correct? I mean, that's what I heard a couple of guys on the media say the same thing. So one of the things, the major thing is less warnings across the board. That's huge. That's huge. What good are the rules if we don't implement them? Big John and I have had this discussion for I don't know how long about the fence grabbing. He's like, oh, if it's just like 1 or 2 fingers. Now, what does that mean? 2 fingers in the fence is 2 fingers in the fence. It's a fence grab. The toes in the fence are not allowed. Why would 2 fingers be allowed? So I like the direction now that I'm hearing this. They're not rushing it is one. Looking for like February, March, maybe early April for the rule change or rule amendment somewhere along them. That's one. 2 is it will not just be reaching the hand out. There will actually have to be a foul for it to be a point, which I love. I was doing the show with Angelo the other day. He's like, if the cop doesn't see me speeding down the road, how are you going to give me a speeding ticket? If I didn't actually commit the foul, how are you going to see me? How are you going to give me take a point? It's insane. And I had to agree with Angelo, which is very difficult for me to do because he's never right. I had to agree with him. I thought to myself, man, you're right, but it wouldn't surprise me because it wouldn't surprise me that the commission would do this or that they would sign on to this because look, losing a main event like a heavyweight title fight to an eye poke is getting kind of, it would super frustrate the promotion. Extremely frustrating if you're the promotion. So anyways, I think they're headed in the right directions. We'll see this hopefully sometime, probably around, like I said, around that time, February, March, April. Do they go all the way in? Do they say, hey, once we give you the one warning, and this goes across for every foul, you kick on the inside of the leg and it hits the cup a tiny bit. I mean, I think you probably got to give them the one warning for the cup because that is so adjustable based on, did he step into it? Did you just legit kick him? Like, how was it? Like, how did it happen? That's probably the one that needs to be, it's all circumstantial. On how, like, the circumstances play a big part in that. But then with the eye pokes, did the guy step in? Like, that doesn't matter. Your hand shouldn't have been open. I feel like the fence grab should be one of the biggest ones too. Is as soon as you grab the fence, it's a point. As soon as you grab it, because if you know what you're doing with your weapons, and I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, blocking punches and parrying punches. I should know what I'm doing. Then that's it. Like, I should be a point. If I grab with 2 fingers, if I grab, it should be a point. If I grab with my toes, it should be a point. We know the rules. There's going to be the changes coming soon. We'll see. I'm sure we'll get more details as it goes on. I'll be in contact with, obviously, some of the judges and commissions and stuff to try to just follow up, figure out what they're doing. I like to know. I want to know these things. I think it's very important for fighters to know what's going on. I think it's important I don't consider myself media. I know a lot of people have said that I'm media now because all I do is a podcast. But instead of just saying like, oh man, the refs messed up again, I think maybe like look into it more. Have conversations about how fast I mean, try and go ref like a kid's wrestling match. Try and go ref somebody's like kickboxing match. Put yourself out there. Offer it. Go to a local gym and see if they have smokers. Try and ref that. It's not easy. I've refed like kids Muay Thai fighting. I've refed smokers. I've refed smokers for MMA. I've refed smokers for jiu-jitsu. I've refed like full on Muay Thai like kickboxing matches and MMA matches. Little kid matches too. I've refed like jiu-jitsu and MMA matches for kids that are like 7, 8 years old. No contact to the head, just body stuff and grappling and stuff. It's not easy, man. So when I say I sympathize with the refs when everyone wants to bag on them, I know it's their job. I'm not saying that. I know it's their job. But it's not as easy as we all think. It's not.